Hello there, and welcome to this deep dive into the intricate, often perplexing, and absolutely crucial world of Social Security. This is a topic that affects millions of lives, and yet, it often gets lost in the shuffle of daily news and political debates. Now, before your eyes glaze over faster than a Krispy Kreme in a police station, believe me when I say this concerns you. Yes, you, sitting there, thinking this is just another boring policy talk. It's far more than that. It concerns your parents, your weird neighbor who collects garden gnomes, and yes, even that guy dressed as Spider-Man in Times Square, demanding you pay for his picture. Social Security is a thread that weaves through the fabric of our society, touching lives in ways you might not even realize. Social Security, for those of you blissfully unaware or choosing to outsource your anxiety about it, is the program designed to keep a roof over the heads of retirees, support those with disabilities, and ensure that when life throws a curveball, there's at least a safety net, however tattered it may be. It's a lifeline for many, a promise that society will take care of its own. But here's the kicker. It's teetering on the edge of a financial cliff. The funds are depleting faster than anticipated, and the future looks uncertain. And frankly, the view from up here is not great. It's like looking down from a high place, knowing that a misstep could lead to a disastrous fall. This isn't some distant dystopian future we're talking about. This is happening now, in real time, affecting real people. This is about the choices we make now, the policies we enact, and whether we're willing to give a damn about those who depend on this system. It's about our collective responsibility and the legacy we leave behind. Buckle up, kids, because this is going to get bumpy. The road ahead is fraught with challenges, and it's going to take a concerted effort to navigate through them. Over the next few sections, we're going to unpack the history of Social Security, its evolution, and the very real challenges it faces today. We'll look at how it started, the changes it has undergone, and the critical issues it must address to survive. We'll dive into the demographic time bomb ticking away, the role immigration plays in all of this, and the ethical dilemmas that have everyone from politicians to philosophers sweating. These are complex issues that require thoughtful consideration and action. Most importantly, we'll explore what happens if we do nothing and the potential solutions, however imperfect they may be. Ignoring the problem is not an option. We need to face it head on. So grab your reading glasses and let's get this show on the road. It's time to delve deep into the world of Social Security and understand what it means for all of us. Section 2. The birth of a safety net. Picture this. 1935. America is in the throes of the Great Depression. The stock market has crashed, banks are failing, and millions of Americans are out of work. Unemployment is rampant. Bread lines snake around city blocks, and the only thing roaring louder than the 20s are the stomachs of hungry Americans. Families are struggling to make ends meet, and the future looks bleak. Enter Franklin Delano Roosevelt, a man who knew how to rock a set of pince-nez and understood that sometimes the government needs to step in and, actually govern. He believed in bold, persistent experimentation to address the crisis. Thus, the Social Security Act was born. It was a landmark piece of legislation aimed at providing financial security for the elderly, the unemployed, and the disadvantaged. This wasn't some socialist fever dream, mind you. It was a pragmatic response to a very real crisis, a recognition that a safety net wasn't just a nice-to-have, it was essential for a functioning society. The idea was to create a system where everyone contributed and everyone benefited. This was a pragmatic response to a very real crisis, a recognition that a safety net wasn't just a nice-to-have, it was essential for a functioning society. Imagine that. A time when common sense actually prevailed. Imagine that, a time when common sense actually prevailed. The initial program was modest by today's standards, focusing primarily on providing retirement benefits to workers. The initial program was modest by today's standards, focusing primarily on providing retirement benefits to workers. The idea was simple. You work, you pay into the system, and when you retire, you get a cut of the pot. It was a revolutionary concept at the time. The idea was simple. You work, you pay into the system, and when you retire, you get a cut of the pot. This wasn't charity. It was a social insurance program, a way to ensure that those who contributed to the economy wouldn't be left high and dry in their golden years. This wasn't charity. It was a social insurance program, a way to ensure that those who contributed to the economy wouldn't be left high and dry in their golden years. It was a radical concept at the time, and not everyone was thrilled. It was a radical concept at the time, and not everyone was thrilled. Conservatives cried foul, calling it socialism in a cheap suit, while some liberals argued it didn't go far enough. The debates were fierce and the opposition was strong. Conservatives cried foul, calling it socialism in a cheap suit, while some liberals argued it didn't go far enough. But like a phoenix rising from the ashes of economic despair, Social Security took flight, forever changing the landscape of American society. But like a phoenix rising from the ashes of economic despair, Social Security took flight, forever changing the landscape of American society. It became a cornerstone of the New Deal, providing hope and stability to millions of Americans. Section 3. Expanding the promise of security. As the decades rolled by, Social Security wasn't content to rest on its laurels. It was like that overachieving friend we all have, the one who's always signing up for extra classes and volunteering at the soup kitchen. Except in this case, it was actually doing some good in the world. In 1950, disability insurance was added to the mix, recognizing that sometimes life throws you a curveball so severe, retirement planning takes a backseat to just getting by. Then came cost of living adjustments because, inflation is a real thing, and retirees deserve to be able to afford more than just cat food and generic denture adhesive. These expansions weren't without their critics, of course. Some argued that these additions were unsustainable, that they'd bankrupt the system. But the underlying principle remained the same, to provide a safety net for those who needed it most. And you know what? It worked. Social Security became a lifeline for millions of Americans, lifting countless seniors out of poverty and providing a measure of dignity and security in their later years. It became a cornerstone of the American dream, a promise that if you worked hard and played by the rules, you wouldn't be left out in the cold when you needed help the most. Section 4. The Gathering Storm Demographic Shifts. Okay, folks, it's time to address the elephant in the room, or rather, the increasingly large and vocal herd of elephants stampeding towards the Social Security picnic. This isn't just a minor inconvenience, it's a full-blown stampede that we can't ignore any longer. You see, the system, as beautifully designed as it was back in the day, wasn't exactly built for the demographic realities of the 21st century. Remember the baby boomers? That post-World War II generation that seemed to be everywhere? That massive generation that made tie-dye and bell-bottoms a thing? They were the heartbeat of a cultural revolution, changing everything from music to fashion. Well, they're not babies anymore. They're now the elderly, enjoying their golden years. And they have every right to expect the Social Security benefits they were promised. They're retiring in droves, and they're expecting their Social Security checks with good reason. After all, they've paid into the system their entire working lives. Meanwhile, birth rates have been declining, which means there are fewer workers paying into the system to support those retirees. This isn't just a future problem, it's happening right now. It's like trying to keep a cruise ship afloat with a bunch of thimbles instead of lifeboats. The system is straining under the weight of these demographic changes. This is what we in the biz like to call a demographic time bomb. The clock is ticking and the pressure is mounting. And the fuse, my friends, is getting awfully short. We don't have the luxury of time to sit back and hope things will fix themselves. To put it in terms even a politician can understand, we've got a whole lot more people taking money out of the pot than we do putting money in. The imbalance is growing and it's unsustainable. This isn't about blaming boomers, mind you. They did their part, paid their dues, and deserved the benefits they were promised. They contributed to the system with the expectation that it would be there for them. They did their part, paid their dues, and deserved the benefits they were promised. But the reality is the system is under unprecedented strain. This is about acknowledging that the system, as it stands, is facing an unprecedented challenge. One that requires some serious soul-searching and even more serious policy solutions. We need to come together, across generations and political divides, to find a sustainable path forward. As we delve deeper into the complexities of Social Security, one question stands out. Is it truly a lifeline for millions of Americans, or merely a false hope? The program has undeniably provided crucial support for countless individuals, ensuring a safety net for retirees, the disabled, and survivors. Yet, with ongoing debates about its sustainability and future, many wonder if it can continue to fulfill its promises. Let's explore the challenges and potential solutions that lie ahead, and consider what steps might be necessary to secure this vital resource for generations to come. Balancing the ethical considerations of Social Security is, well, like walking a tightrope. We must ensure fairness and equity while also maintaining the system's sustainability. It's a complex challenge, but one that is essential for the well-being of future generations. Looking ahead, projections and predictions play a crucial role in shaping Social Security's future. Analysts use data to forecast trends, helping policymakers make informed decisions. While no one can predict the future with absolute certainty, these projections provide a valuable roadmap. Potential reforms to Social Security are often debated, each with its own set of impacts. Some suggest raising the retirement age, while others advocate for increasing payroll taxes or adjusting benefits. Each proposal has its pros and cons, and the choices we make will have lasting effects on millions of lives. Social Security's legacy is one of providing stability and support to countless Americans. As we look to the future, we must honor this legacy by ensuring the program remains robust and responsive to the needs of the people. It's a promise we must keep, for today and for generations to come.